Hello and welcome to another video from Midas Touch Toys, Games, Collectibles. And today, well, we're looking at something that's now very old, very collectible, and becoming increasingly more difficult to find, especially in this near mint condition. Now, we are looking at the 1969 release by Dinky Toys from their Gerry Andersons series of die-cast models that featured in the Anderson television programs. And this particular one we are looking at today is from the television series The Secret Service, and it is of Father Unwin's Gabriel Model T Ford. Now, The Secret Service, now that was a 1969 British science fiction television series. It was created by the Andersons, Gerry and Sylvia Anderson, and filmed by their production company Century 21 for ITC Entertainment. And the series basically follows the exploits of Father Stanley Unwin, a puppet character voiced by and modelled on the comedian of the same name. Now, outwardly, he's an eccentric vicar. Unwin is secretly an agent of Bishop, which is a division of British intelligence that counters criminal and terrorist threats, and is assisted by his fellow agent Matthew Hardin. Now, Unwin's missions involve frequent use of the minimizer, which is a device capable of shrinking people and objects to facilitate covert operations. Now, when Unwin gets into hostile situations, let's say, he starts spouting a form of gibberish based on the real Unwin's nonsense language, which he called Unwinese, to distract the enemy, basically. Now, the series, well, it wasn't overly popular. It had quite a poor viewing figures. There was only 13 episodes made because it was cancelled halfway through. Each episode ran for about 25 minutes, and the budget per episode was £50,000. Now, it was the last Anderson series to be made using their form of electronic marionette, which they called super marionation. And the technique was combined with scale models, effect sequences, which were pretty unique to the Andersons puppet series. But this particular one used extensive footage of live actors in long shot as well as the puppets. The filming on the series began in August 1968, and it ended with the completion of the 13th episode in January 1969, after Lou Grade, Century 21's owner and financial backer, responded negatively to a test screening and cancelled the production. Grade believed that the inclusion of the Unwinese language had made it almost impossible to sell the series to any American market. So that was it. The season was cancelled. The series is one of those forgotten gems of the Andersons, or one of those flops, depending on how you look at it. It was transmitted originally on 3 of the ITV network's regional franchises, but has not been repeated since 1975. So 50 years ago, was the last time it was actually transmitted on terrestrial TV. So not the greatest of series that the Andersons want to be remembered by, but still a classic. Some enjoyable bits of it as well. I think the Unwinese was a little bit of a poor inclusion into the series, which did, I think, tend to bring the series down. Otherwise, it was quite a good spy stroke sci-fi series, in my opinion. Anyway, this particular model we're looking at today is based on Father Unwin's Model T Ford, which he drove around in the TV series. Now, you do actually see him sitting in his car and driving it as real action, as well as the puppetry versions, because it was a combination of live action and puppetry used. But anyway, so this is the box that the item comes in, and it says direct from Gerry Andersons The Secret Service, Dinky Toys 109 Gabriel Model T Ford. If I turn the box to the next side, it says Dinky Toys Gabriel Model T Ford, and that's all in different languages. Printed in England, made in England. It's based on Gerry Andersons' TV series The Secret Service, Associated Television, licensed by Century 21 Merchandising, London, England. And we've got, again, direct from Gerry Andersons, The Secret Service, Dinky Toys 109 Gabriel Model T Ford. And on the other side here, again, we've got Dinky Toys Gabriel Model T Ford, brass lamps and radiator, authentic spoke wheels, and Father Unwin. And there's a nice highlighted silhouette image of the model there. Turn the box to the end, and it's got Dinky Toys 109 Gabriel Model T Ford. And if you turn the box to the other end, we got exactly the same again, Dinky Toys 109 Gabriel Model T Ford. Okay, so that is the model. Why don't we open the box up, take it out, and let's have a look at it outside of the outer box. Okay, so I've removed the model from the box, and there you can see it's got that display plinth that came with a lot of the models from the 1960s from Dinky Toys. So it's a nice little display plinth, and it shows you Father Unwin's house and his garage where the Gabriel car was parked during the episodes. And it says direct from Gerry Andersons, The Secret Service, Century 21 Productions. And it's got Dinky Toys 109 Gabriel Model T Ford in the back there. And I don't think there's anything now. The rest of the plinth is empty. Okay, so let's have a look at the car. Let's move the car off the plinth and let's bring it closer to the camera so we can have a look. But it is all die-cast metal. The whole chassis is die-cast metal. There is some plastic on here. So obviously the windscreen is plastic. The lamps and the screen is brass. Now, I think the grille was brass at some point, but the colouring has come off it and it's gone to silver now by the looks of things. There is some hints of colour at the bottom. I'm assuming that's what's happened to it, or maybe it was just silver. I'm not 100% sure about that, but definitely the lamps on the side there and the screen is brass. Actually, it might not have been brass. It might just have been silver, actually, that front there. So the wheels are rubber tyres and plastic wheels. And obviously you've got Father Unwin sitting there behind the wheel, and he's a plastic figure. And obviously the seat is also plastic, as is the steering wheel. And you can see him there sitting there driving the vehicle. And there's the spare wheel on the side there, and it's got Gabriel on each side of the seated area. On the bottom of the model, it's got Dinky Toys, and it's got Meccano Toys, Meccano Limited at the bottom there, and it says Model T Ford underneath. So the Model T Ford Dinky already had the molds for, so they basically molded the model and they added on the colours and the decals to suit the Secret Service, and they added in a driver of a Reverend Unwin, so, or Vicar Unwin, whatever you like to call him, so to make it the Secret Service car. So size wise, what are we looking at? Well, let's just zoom out a little bit so we get a bit more viewing on there. So we're looking from one end to the other. Let's get it in centimetres. We're looking at about 8.5 centimetres in length. Width wise, we are looking at about 4 centimetres. And height wise, if we measure from the bottom of the wheel to the top of Father Unwin, we are looking at 5 centimetres. So that gives you an idea of the size. There's only one functionality on this model, which is the free rolling wheels, and they do move very, very nicely, nice and smoothly, because they're quite large size wheels, and obviously you can see the realistic spokes in the wheels. And let's say they're free rolling, and it does move along really, really nicely and nice and smoothly. There we are. There's not a lot else we can really tell you about this model. But it was one of those models that obviously Dinky had quite a long relationship with the Andersons Productions. They produced a lot of toys over the course of the years, from Thunderbirds through to Captain Scarlet, to Joe 90, and of course then they wanted to do one on the Secret Service. Although the previous Anderson productions, the models went on for quite some years, this particular one was very short-lived, and it only lasted for about 2 years before production was halted on it. And that was down to the fact that the television series was pulled halfway through the production of the episodes. So it was supposed to be scheduled for 26 episodes, but Lou Gray pulled the plug after only 13 episodes because he said it was an unsellable product. So that's the reason why the model didn't do, and it obviously didn't sell very well because the TV series was hardly on the air. So there was no great viewing figures, which meant no great following, which meant no great sales. So sadly enough, the model was demised, I think in 1971. The plug was pulled, and that was the end of the Secret Service Gabriel's Model T car. So, well, there we had it. So how well did they do? Obviously not very well. 2 years is a very short time for these models to be out. Well, they were back in the day. Nowadays they run models in very limited runs, so they only run them for a short amount of time and they move on to the next one. But back in the day, TV related models were produced in huge quantities and ran for quite a long time. I say this was the exception to that because the TV series, the plug was pulled, and the popularity of the show was very poor. Even in syndication, reruns I should say, the show really didn't do very well. Hence the reason why it hasn't been shown on network television since 1975. So, I mean, you die-hard Anderson fans will say, well, it's a lost classic of the Andersons. And then others would say it was their one failure. So it's up to you. You make your decision. You watch your program. You make your decision to see if you enjoyed it or not. I quite enjoyed it. As I say, I think it was only the Unwin language that did seem to distract you from the actual program. But it's a shame that I think if that wasn't included in it, it would have been a pretty good series overall. But there we are. Anyway, okay, so let's move forward to 2025, which is where we are today. So we're moving forward 57 years since this particular model was made, or 56 years, I should say. Question, do these come up for sale very often on the platforms? Well, funny enough, you do see these fairly regularly on the platforms. Not in any great quantity. I did have a look on the platforms, and I think I found 4 or 5 versions of these with the boxes and the display stands. There's also quite a few loose ones with damage to them, what have you. And there was also a couple that had the box but no display plinth. So they do come up regularly. Depends what you're looking for. If you want them like I do, as close to mint condition as you could possibly get, then there was 1 or 2 of those on the platforms. If you're not overly fussed about the condition, well, then there was another few that were in used or played with condition but still had the boxes. And if you don't want the boxes, you just want the model, then there was quite a few that were available with just them played with model. So yep, I mean, surprisingly enough, they do appear more frequently than you would have expected, considering they were such a low numbers and such a short run. But there we are. Who knows? Maybe again the collectors have had them and thought it wasn't never that great anyway, so they got rid of them. Maybe it wasn't one of their favourites. I think it's a great looking vehicle, I do, and I do have one in my display. I do have it sitting on the plinth, and I have the box. Well, in fact, I've got the box, the plinth sitting on top of the box, so it adds for quite a nice display. It puts it up higher so that it makes it more visible in my glass cabinet. So, but yeah, so they do, to summarise, they do come up fairly not I say fairly regularly, but semi-regularly, I would say, on the platforms, various different states of condition. Obviously, as the usual thing applies, if you're going to buy a platform, have a good look at the item, read the description carefully, because somebody's idea of very good condition could be somebody else's idea of acceptable condition. There is a big scope of differences there between people's opinions. And don't forget, some of the other platforms use stock images and stock descriptions, so you could be looking at a near mint condition one like this. However, if there's no new ones available, and there won't be new ones available of these, it automatically goes to the cheapest used model, and that might just be a loose model, chipped and damaged and what have you, and it may very well be something that you don't want. So if it doesn't say new and the used icon is there, click that used icon and read what you're about to order to save any disappointments when the item arrives. Now, obviously it wouldn't be the fault of the seller, and it's certainly not the fault of the buyer, but it is the way the platforms work. Stupid idea if you ask me, but there we are. Now, alternatively, you don't need to go for any rigmarole. You come straight to us at Midas Touch Toys, Games, Collectibles, where what you see in front of you is exactly the item you receive should you wish to purchase it. And this particular item, well, it was a display item. It belonged to a gentleman who bought it from new, and he had it in a display cabinet its entire life, until the gentleman retired and decided to offload a big percentage of his collection, and we were fortunate enough to buy quite a substantial amount of his models, and we are working our way through those and making them available to our customers on the Midas Touch website, which you can get to quite simply by clicking the link below. It will take you straight to the website where you'll be able to find this and many other vintage Dinky diecast models, and many other vintage toys, games and collectibles come to that. There's over 10,000 products currently available on the website for you to view and purchase at your leisure. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because we're uploading videos for every new item that goes into the website. There will be something for everybody, and I am absolutely positive this is something that you're not going to want to miss, because we literally have thousands and thousands of new items which we're shooting videos for and uploading on a daily basis. So if there is something in particular you're looking for, something old you've never been able to find, something quirky that you might want to buy for a friend, or perhaps just something from your childhood that you'd like to own again to help you recuperate those long lost childhood memories, well, stay tuned, keep watching, because you never know, the next item we upload could be that item you've been looking for. Okay, that is it for me on this particular item. I do hope you've enjoyed reviewing this wonderful vintage Gerry Andersons Secret Service Gabriel Model T Ford diecast model vehicle with me. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next video. So bye for now.